Welcome, Aries and Aries cross watchers, to your new moon in Pisces reading. So we do have the Attune to the Divine and Meditate and Contemplate from the Moonology deck. Just kind of bring the energy in. And then I did pull an overall energy card for you, which is Wisdom. And I'm just actually noticing now that you have the 22 and 33. So Aries, I feel like if you've been seeing like repeated numbers or synchronicities, I feel like some of you may have been, not all of you, right? But if you have kind of been like, oh, that's probably not a sign for me, or oh, that's probably not that, I feel like it is. It feels like those numbers or those signs are going to keep getting bigger until you acknowledge them. Aries, I'm also feeling that it's like there seems to be something here, and I feel like part of you feels like it's fading. It's almost like you seem to feel like you are watching something kind of fade away, and it's almost like it's out of your reach to grasp, if that makes sense. Like it's out of reach enough that whatever it is fading. It's like you just kind of have to watch it fade, right? It's like when the sun is setting, it's going to set no matter what we do, right? And so where are you now? We have the Seven of Pentacles here. I feel like there's, it's almost like I'm hearing there's work to be done. And listen, I've never met an Aries that was afraid of, working hard, okay? So it actually kind of feels here that there's, don't be mad at me, but I'm just gonna say it. I actually feel like while you are watching this, whatever this is, fade away, I actually feel like there's better ways that you could be spending your time. I feel like, and it may not seem like it's that big of a deal, but I feel like somebody really needs your help here. It's almost like you're spending a bit of time. I'm hearing like you're spending so much time watching this thing fade away that I feel like there's something that someone else is building and they feel really, really burdened. I feel like this person doesn't actually expect you to come along and save them. I feel like they may not, it's like, I don't feel like this is the kind of person that's going to ask for help more than once, right? It's like, if this is the kind of person, I feel like they'd be like, oh, hey, can you help me with this? And you'd be like, oh yeah, no problem, just a second. And you're like, and they'd be like, oh, well, they can't help me right now, I'm just going to go do it, right? It's like they don't really wait. And I feel like whatever this person has been working on, they seem to feel really discouraged. I feel like when you come in, if you choose to for them, you're going to feel like a freaking godsend. You know what I mean? It's like this person is out of energy. It's almost like if this person was in, this is just the imagery that I'm seeing, okay? It's almost like, the enemy is closing in on all sides. And this person kind of feels like they're the only one left out there. And it's like, and then the cavalry, you're the cavalry and you kind of come in and you just kind of blast right through it. And I feel like this person is looking at it like, it may make them feel at times inadequate because you seem to have blasted through what was making them feel discouraged. And I don't really see you looking at it that way, okay? I feel like that's how this person is looking at it, like, well, why couldn't I do it? And I feel like it's important for them to remember that that it's almost like whatever it is that they're facing, you weren't facing it the whole time, right? So it's like you didn't get defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat with this same thing. So it's like, of course you came in with a different attitude. I do feel to a certain extent that this may be somebody that kind of expects that things will go wrong. So I do feel to a certain extent that they do kind of struggle with that motivation piece. And I feel like at first you being around, because that it's like when you want something, God help the person that gets between Aries and where they're going, right? And I feel like this person may not quite have that resolve. And I feel like at first that may, the difference between the two of you might make them feel inadequate, like they kind of almost like they don't deserve to accomplish things. And I feel like when the more they're around you, the more that it's like, because that's so internal for you, it's like ingrained in your personality, it's a part of who you are. I feel like they kind of can't help but start to, it's like your motivation, that drive, that get up and go, I feel like it just kind of starts to rub off on them, even if it's not really, they don't see it as being in their nature. What does Aries need to know about what they're letting go? So we have the Eight of Pentacles with the Nine of Wands. And then we have, there's three. We have the Death card, Five of Swords, and the Eight of Wands. So I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so you can see all the cards. So I think we're actually going to do it like this. What I'm kind of feeling here is that you seem to be somebody that bounces, or at least to the world, it looks like you just bounce back from defeat, right? But it's like, you experience the same feelings of loss that everybody else does, the same feelings of defeat. You just don't stay there. And I actually feel that whatever you are kind of watching go out of sight, there's something about that experience that seems to help you understand this person a bit more. It's almost like in you kind of mastering whatever the loss experience is here, I feel like not only do you understand this person more, but it feels like, okay, it may not be the actual situation. Aries, I actually feel like you may have lost more here than this person feels like they are losing here. And I feel like the fact that you're able to kind of call attention to that person if you choose to come in and help them, not to be like, my life is worse than yours, but more like, well, I see that that's really defeating, but this is what happened to me, and this is how I handled it, right? And so I feel like it's almost like this person kind of needed to see, or not needed, but them seeing that there's life after whatever they're going through, that other people go through harder things. It seems to really put things in perspective. It doesn't seem like it makes them, happy about what they're losing, right? But I definitely feel that it is able to change people's opinion of their circumstances. It's like if you're somebody that has really been through some tough things, it's like, I'm hearing that when Sir Davos is introducing Jon Snow, when he says something to the effect of like, those things that you've never seen, he's like, he's fought those things. It's like you fought the things that some people kind of could never dream of facing. And I feel like the fact that you don't give up, that there's this thing inside you that never really truly gives up, doesn't mean that you don't get hurt or discouraged, right? It's like you're still human. You just don't stay there. And I feel like that's really, really, it's this energy, Aries, that I'm not so sure that you realize who you're inspiring just by living your life and overcoming the obstacles that are being thrown at you. And I feel like there may be times where it's like, whatever this thing is that you're kind of watching fade, it feels a little bit like you had to take care of something else. And it's like you kind of noticed that this thing was starting to fade. And it's like you kind of tried to hurry through what you were doing so that you could get over there and pull it back in. But I feel like it kind of goes a little too far at the end of the day. And I feel like that's where that loss is. Not that you feel that you have, that you're a failure, but I feel like whatever this element is, if it's a person, it kind of feels like you failed them to a certain extent. But I feel like you're also smart enough to understand that, like, you're one person. You can't be in 4 or 5 places at once, right? So it's like you made a decision that needed, you know what I mean? It's like you made a decision. And I feel like you're able to live with the consequences, good or bad, of that decision. It just feels like you kind of wish you didn't have to lose one to have the other. So what does Aries not know? Okay. I feel like, Aries, if you're feeling like it wasn't a tower, if people have maybe told you like, oh, it wasn't that bad, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, I feel like number one, those people can hit the road, okay? I mean, I was hearing something with a few more expletives in there, but I am trying not to swear. So I feel like some people, because you seem to handle adversity better than most, I feel like there's people out there that are going to be like, oh, Aries isn't stronger than anybody. They're just this, they're just that. They have more help. They have more this, they have more that. And like, excuse me. You know what I mean? It's like, who are other people to say how deep your suffering goes? You know what I mean? I feel like because you're somebody that, like, you either immediately or eventually you bounce back from things, it's like people want to act like it's because things are easier for you. It's not. It's no easier for you than it is for other people to lose things. You just don't let it defeat you. And people want to look at that, it like that, I want to say like indomitable strength, that emotional fortitude. People want to look at that like, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that, because then they don't have to look at the fact that maybe they're not where they want to be, right? Can we get actually, I think we're going to pull a clarifier on the tower. Oh. Ooh, someone really pulled the rug out from underneath you, didn't they? Jeez. So, I mean, what was lost here will obviously be different for everybody. But it kind of feels like in order to save one thing, you really had to lose another. It's almost like to hold up one building, you had to hear the other one crack and slowly fall apart. And I feel like it was an incredibly painful experience. And I actually kind of want to tell those other people to F off for you. I get that maybe you don't need me to, but I'd like to. Because it's like, if people could see all of the intricacies of what you've really been through, I feel like some people wouldn't really even feel like they have a right to talk to you. Certainly not with any of that crap, but it's like people might look at you almost like you've been through so much. It's like they might even look at you like you're a bit of it's a strange sentence for me to hear. That's why it's a bit strange for me to say. It's like people almost might look at you like you're a bit of a freak, that you haven't kind of let whatever's going on defeat you. You know what I mean? And I feel like people want to act like, oh, it's because this, it's because of that. And like, no, actually, you miserable cow. It's actually because it feels like, okay, the energetics of the situation may not be the actual situation, but I feel like you're somebody that came from nothing. And it's like, despite the fact that you may have gotten knocked down and the rug has been pulled out from underneath you, it's like you rebuild every time. And people want to act like it's because, you know, Aries has all this money, or I'm hearing like maybe you made money on flipping a house or something. Or at least people want to act like you did, but they don't realize how much time and energy and resources actually went into flipping that house, right? So I feel like it actually feels like it's kind of caused you to disconnect from a lot of people, because you're just not, like, if people are going to try to invalidate your experience or your emotions, like, you're not here for that. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry. I feel like you probably don't need me to say that. But if no one has said it, I'm going to. I'm sorry that this has happened and that so much was taken from you. So What is the silver lining? What can you tell Aries about that? What do they need to know? I feel like for some of you, that Tower may feel like a distant memory. Like you may have healed from it already. I feel like somebody was managing something for you here. You know what it feels like? I feel like you may have trusted somebody with something of yours and they acted like they were managing it. It's like they acted like they would go in there and negotiate on your behalf, but they didn't. And I feel like instead of going in and like offering low and then kind of negotiating to a midpoint, I feel like they went in and they offered everything. You know what I mean? And I feel like you may have, it's like that may have been what happened here. Somebody kind of told you that they were on your team and they weren't. And it's like they weren't even on the other person's team. They just kind of tried to tell you that they were capable of doing something when they weren't. And I feel like you may have trusted this person, and to you it feels like it was a very hard lesson. And it feels like it's not really one that you want to learn again. And I feel like it's given you some trust issues, and it's you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's just relational trust. It doesn't feel like it's, you know, just in love. I feel like generally speaking, when somebody says like this or that, I feel like you question it, because whatever happened here, I feel like it was it may have been difficult to recover from financially. For some of you, it may have been financially devastating. You know, it's like maybe they, hold on for a second. I feel like whatever they did kind of put a target on your back. It's almost like, let's say you had gold bars in the basement, right? Well, while this person was negotiating how much you were going to get for those gold bars, they told everybody how much you have and where it is and how to find it. You know what I mean? And it seemed to really put you in a position where everybody knew. Everybody knew what was, you know, kind of in your secret garden here. Everyone knew what was behind that veil. And I feel like, and then the vultures came, right? So, wow. Didn't really even ask a question here, but I was kind of looking for advice. So, hold on for a second. I got the Five of Wands, Nine of Cups, Page of Pentacles, and Six of Pentacles. So I feel like this card setup, whatever came out, I don't know how to call this. These four cards that came out, I feel like it's a message that the lesson that you gained from that experience is, it's like how to be your own calm in the storm. It's like, you know how they say that when, what's that saying? When the chips are down, you find out who your friends really are. And I feel like because of the experience that you had, you found out who you really were. And it's almost that energy of like, you learn to be your own best friend. And it's not that it was necessarily a bad outcome, but I feel like it was a painful one, because it made you feel like other people really can't be counted on. And I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your butt and tell you that like, oh, you should just trust people, because I feel like if I did, you'd give me some real stink eye, maybe some side eye. So I feel like what you've kind of learned here, it's like you learned how the world works. You know what I mean? It's like if you want people to do something, if you really want them to do it, the easiest way to do that is to incentivize them to do so, right? It's like, don't lean on loyalty. Don't lean on how much somebody loves you. I feel like you understand how to motivate people to do things that they don't want to do. You know what I mean? It's like a less, almost this, it's not diabolical, okay? Because it doesn't have a negative connotation to it, but it's like you're not living in a world where people are going to be loyal to you because they love you. And that's not a statement on like you're not worthy of it, they're not loyal. It's just you understand how people function, and that when people are in their lower energies, there has to be an incentive for them to do something or they're not going to do it. And I feel like whatever it is that you are kind of watching fade out of the distance, I feel like when you see what you've really won here, that you didn't want to sacrifice that thing, but if it took sacrificing that thing to gain that, then I actually feel like it's not a trade you want to relive, right? You don't want to go back there and re-experience that pain. But if that was the trade-off, I feel like it's something that you're able to make peace with. So can we get one more card for advice or what's good that's coming for Aries? Advice or what's good? Oh wow. Well, alrighty then. So we have the Empress at the bottom of the deck here, with the Page of Cups under that. And we have the Justice with the Two of Cups. So I actually feel like there is I feel like you're going to see somebody, this might sound strange, I feel like you see someone that is kind of moving on without you, and there doesn't seem to be, it's almost like you realize that whoever that person is, whatever they had to offer, it's almost like they kind of stopped developing their, let's say for example, I don't know how to describe this. I feel like you see that this person had built themselves as far as they wanted to go. And I feel like you realize that actually you wanted to be more masterful than that. I feel like you see that it's like maybe you really loved that person. Maybe you wanted that person for a certain time. But the life that they're looking for is, it's like you're looking at that part of your life or that level of stability, what have you, in the rearview mirror, right? Like that's, you wanted more. And while that person may have been sweet, maybe their person, like their actual character was great, but what they wanted out of life, it's almost like they never would have wanted to put in what you're putting in right now. They never would have wanted to build what you're building right now. So I feel like there's this energy here that that you are moving into that Empress, Emperor energy, right? It's like you're seeing, I feel like what you're doing right now, you're not just laying the foundation. It's like you're starting to build the walls up. You're starting to, not walls to like keep people out and all that stuff, but it's like what you want to build, you are building it. And it's like, because what you're doing is rare and the goals that you're going to achieve are goals that not everybody has the wherewithal to work for. So it's almost that energy of like, it's lonely at the top, right? But I feel like, and not that you're at the top or you think you're full. Like, I'm not getting at all that like, you know, you've got a big head or you're full of yourself or something. It just feels like when it comes to this situation here, that I feel like you actually end up seeing that this person that's moving on without you, while you may have had feelings for that person, I feel like you see that it wouldn't have been a fulfilling relationship because they wouldn't have pushed you in the way that you want your partner to push you to do better, because they have a certain ceiling and your ceiling is different. So I think I'll leave it there, Aries. If this reading resonated, I hope it was helpful and brought you some clarity. If you've made it to the end of the read, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have had a great week, and we will see you on the next one. Much love. Bye.